Hello and welcome to InkGenius creative writing class. This video is about formality and informality, so whether you should use the formal tone or the informal tone. In writing and creative writing, the formal tone is commonly used in letters to people of higher authority, or letters to people that are highly respected, or letters to people that you don't know, or maybe professional announcements. And if you're writing from the point of view of someone who is very well educated. Informal tone is found in things like text messages or postcards or letters to a friend, or if you're writing from the point of view of someone who's not very well educated or doesn't really care about the usage of the language. So you have to be able to know when it's appropriate to use informal and when it's not appropriate to use informal. So we often find ourselves speaking in shorter languages and abbreviations. Try not to do that in your writing. So if you are deciding, oh, I don't want to write around, or some of us actually don't know that it's incorrect to do that way. So saying like she was walking around the corner, it does make sense, but you can say she was walking around because just makes your work seem just that much more professional. Or if you say, I'm staying here till 4, it's slang, and it's not supposed to, you shouldn't necessarily write it. Just write until, because it takes a millisecond to write out the full word than to just leave it as a shorter language. Language is used amongst people who are very comfortable with each other and wouldn't be appropriate for, like I said, a letter to someone of high importance or a letter to the Prime Minister, for example. And it would seem out of place and just weird if it was whether it's real life or the creative world. 2 examples of formal and informal. I'll give you an example of formal and I'll give you an example of informal, and I want you to just see it, like the difference between the two. So both of these are letters, but the first one is formal and the second is informal. So here is my short formal letter, or my extract from a formal letter. It was a pleasure to meet with you, and I sincerely wish that we can confer face to face again. I hope you found the congregation as informative as I did, and I hope we can use this knowledge to move forward to a new era of education and schooling. So imagine this is probably a letter between maybe 2 colleagues who work in education and educational laws and things like that. Probably I think there's greater language in formal, so using congregation instead of gathering or meeting or setup or things like that. If the words are not bigger, they don't necessarily have to be big words, but sometimes even if they're concise, they still have a polished finish to them. And you can imagine someone like the head of the school, or someone like a boss in a workplace. You can imagine them saying that. And now for my informal letter. Hi, we haven't talked in ages. How have you been? I've been good. My sister's even more annoying these days. Should we hang out one day? Somewhere fun. Thanks for sending me a gift for my birthday. I loved it. So again, it's not there's no slang or such things. It doesn't seem like something you'd hear maybe it's not like a thing that you'd hear from maybe, I don't know, teenagers or teenagers that hang out at the park or things like that. It's not that hardcore. It doesn't have to be that hardcore. It's just things like saying thanks instead of thank you, or hi instead of hello. If you're doing formal, you don't necessarily have to say salutations at things or things like that, but you'd be able to tell small differences, like we haven't talked in ages, or instead of we haven't talked in a while. And there's a lot more questions in informal letters than there are in formal letters, because you're more comfortable with the person, so you're able to ask more questions like, how have you been, or should we hang out somewhere, or things like that. Also writings that are neutral, so they're neither formal or informal. So that's basically what you find in novels, just regular novels. I find that the way to not be informal or formal is to just write normally. Make sure you don't write how you speak though, because a lot of us, we don't take the time to use grand language or to illustrate our points with metaphors and similes, and to make our words seem very broad. We don't take the time to say an essay. So thank you for watching, and I hope you understand the difference between informal and formal, and that you can write neutrally, but just make sure you avoid slangs if you're not trying to be very informal, or if you're just doing regular writing, just avoid them in general. Thank you for watching. Bye.